Little review. Yesterday evening, we discussed the first of 11 verses, and you see in the color-coded presentation here, there were two topics that we covered. Sada, dambam hitva. I like dambam, pride. Dambam. Sada, dambam hitva. Give up all pride. And kuru ratim apurvam atitaram. These are the topics that we discussed yesterday. These terms, kuru, is translated here as please take. Rati, we know what rati means, but the translator chose delight or attachment. Apurvam, unprecedented, extraordinary, and amplifying that, atitaram, intense. So develop kururatim apurvam atitaram, unprecedented and excessive attachment. Now we're going to hear part two is from this first verse, attachment to what? What's the topic is, as we heard yesterday, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this is a padati, a path or process, step by step, to receive that which Lord Chaitanya came to give. What did Lord Chaitanya come to give? We heard yesterday from Chaitanya Charitamrita. He personally wanted to taste the love, spontaneous love of the residents of Vrndavan, particularly the love of Radha for Krishna. He wanted to taste it. And he wanted to give it to others. So this is a path to receive that which Lord Chaitanya came to give. As taught by Lord Chaitanya in detail to Sarup Damodar, who gave the internal or esoteric process of cultivation of ragamarg. That's what we're hearing. And so there's the negative and there's the positive. Negative, give up completely all pride. As we go further in the text, there's layers of pride and layers of pride and layers of pride, and it gets more subtle, layers of pride. But layers of pride, give them all up. And accept kuru ratim apurvam atitaram, unprecedented and excessive attachment to, and that's what we're going to hear this morning. Attachment to what? So this morning, assuming technology works, is there a little portable microphone? You're just going to hear the first verse, not all the 6 that we heard yesterday evening. And if technology cooperates, which it doesn't always do, here's the first verse. You can sing along. It's very simple. Meter.
Guru goshte gostalai susujane busubragane svamantre shinamni vrajanavayuvadvan vasharane sadadambam hitva kururatim apurvam atitaram Aye svantar pratas chatupirabiyache dritapada.
Very pleasing. Nice.
O dear brother, O mind, having given up all pride, please develop unprecedented and excessive attachment to Sri Guru, to Sri Vrndavan, the abode of cows, to the devotee residents of Vrndavan, to all the devotees on this planet, to the confidential mantra given by Sri Guru, to the holy names of Sri Sri Radha Krishna, and to the process of surrendering to the fresh, youthful couple of Vraja. Holding your feet, I beseech you with sweet words.
This is a prayer or instruction to his mind. What instructs the mind? Buddhi. And the buddhi that Raghunath Das Goswami is articulating is the buddhi that he received through Swarup Damodar from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In his life, Raghunath Das, because of his abject humility, he never spoke directly to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He spoke through Swarup Damodar. Swarup Damodar spoke back Mahaprabhu's message. But it's his intelligence, buddhi, dadami buddhi yogam tam, yena mam upiyanti te. It's from Lord Chaitanya. It's Lord Chaitanya's instructions, this Manah Siksa. Lord Chaitanya instructing his mind. Holding your feet, I beseech you with sweet words. A little bit more about the relationship between Lord Chaitanya and Raghunath Das Goswami. During the time that 16 years that Raghunath Das Goswami was in Puri, there were several Raghunaths. So to distinguish him from others, he was called the Raghu of Swarup. He was the property of Swarup. He was under the care of Swarup. And boy, did Swarup care for him in the best of way. So through Swarup Damodar, Raghunath Das asked Mahaprabhu for some instruction to live by while residing in Puri. And Mahaprabhu said, Swarup Damodar can give you all instructions, but since you're asking, here's the instruction. Do not listen to gossip, nor engage in gossip yourself. You should not eat very palatable food, nor should you dress very nicely. Always chant the holy name of Lord Krishna without any expectation of honor. Amani namana dena. Offering all respects to others. Mentally render service to Radha and Krishna in Vrndavan. This mentally rendering service to Radha and Krishna in Vrndavan is the internal or esoteric path spoken on this occasion and with further elaboration from Swarup Damodar to Raghunath Das, who made that his life and wrote this book when he reached Vrndavan, just in the mature stage of his following this nice instruction. We heard yesterday, nice image, painting, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu making a gift to Raghunath Das of the Govardhan Shila that he had personally worshipped for 3 years. One sannyasi from Puri had gone to Vrndavan, brought back, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted and worshipped for 3 years. That indentation in the Govardhan Shila was his thumb, moving and moving and moving and moving and just rubbing the stone away, according to the impression of his thumb. When Mahaprabhu gave that Govardhan Shila to Raghunath Das, the understanding that Raghunath Das had was, by this gift, Mahaprabhu is giving me residence at Vrndavan, at Govardhan Hill. Doesn't say that Mahaprabhu said that. That was his understanding. And that, we remember from yesterday, that the garland of gunja berries, he understood that's the shelter of Srimati Radharani. And that was Mahaprabhu's gift, along with the padati, or the process, of ragamarg, that's the internal type. And following Raghunath Das Goswami, our 6 Goswamis also followed that process, and we discussed a little bit Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and as well Bhakti Siddhanta, and the rest of us as followers of this path. One of the few writings that Raghunath Das Goswami wrote personally was a prayer, a prarthana, 10 verses, appealing for vasa, or residence at Govardhan. I mean, Mahaprabhu had already given it, so we could say it's given. But he understood the importance of calling out for mercy. That's what these first 3 verses are. Who's eligible for residence? So one of these is calling for mercy. Humility calls for mercy. So he's calling for the mercy of Govardhan for residence. In the first verse of this book, he writes, Krishna is your, or Govardhan's, own master, Nija Pati. In other words, the revelation of Raghunath Das Goswami's understanding of the relationship between Govardhan and Krishna, we can say they're non-different. We say it all the time. Raghunath Das's realization, or his mood, was that Govardhan sees Krishna as his master. So the servant, in other words, Nijapati. Here's one of the verses, verse number 9, in this Dashakam, where he writes, imbued with friendly rasa for Radha and Krishna along with their friends. So it's servant with the mood of friendship towards Radha and Krishna. You are an unparalleled giver of happiness to the groups of men, animals, and birds that take shelter of you. O Govardhan, embracing me and considering me one of your own, please give me permanent residence near you. So he made that his life. We remember how many years he stayed at Govardhan. 61 years, if my memory is right. It's a long time to stay in one place, and he didn't go any other place. By the banks of Radhakund, and circumambulating Govardhan Hill regularly, etc. That was his life. After Mahaprabhu left, we mentioned this yesterday, Raghunath Das decided life had no further meaning to him, so he went from Puri, it's a long walk, from Puri to Vrndavan, with the intention of offering his respects to Rupa and Sanatan, and second, to give up his life, jumping off Govardhan Hill. His mood was so melancholy that Rupa and Sanatan can immediately understand his heart, and they forbade him from doing this. He didn't say that's what my plan is, but they could understand his mood. So they instructed him instead to every day for the rest of his life recite the pastimes of Caitanya Mahaprabhu to the Brijbasis who didn't have the same 16 years of association that Raghunath Das Goswami had, so they can enlighten. He could enlighten them. What his pastimes were, teachings and precepts of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in the audience was Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, hearing every day, the realizations of Raghunath Das received from Swarup Damodar, received from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Doesn't get any better than that. So now we're going to go again to verses, this little summary, verses 1 through 3. You saw this slide yesterday. Qualifications for the inner path of attraction to Krishna in Vrndavan. A little review. There's these phrases, sada dambam hitva. In that sada dambam hitva, there's the elements of the same Shikshastaka 3. What's Shikshastaka 3? After the end of Shikshastaka 2, Mahaprabhu's composition, he says, I have no attraction. So if you want to get attraction, you follow Mahaprabhu's instructions. What Raghunath Das is writing is nothing different than Mahaprabhu's instructions. Here's the 4. Humility, tolerance, all respect, and maybe the most difficult of all, no expectation of respect in return. When you do something nice, you expect somebody to say thank you or something. Oh, you're a nice devotee. And then you hear, oh, you're a nice devotee. It's, yes, they're an intelligent devotee. They've understood how nice I am. Or whatever the way somebody processes appreciation, what to speak of praise. But sada dambam hitva is encapsulates the Shikshastaka 3. The converse, this is review from yesterday. As long as pride is in the heart, there's no anuraga for the holy name. What to speak of other manifestations of Krishna. Our immediate and most recommended access for this age is the name. So if you're struggling with your chanting, look inside. This is the internal path. Where is there pride in my heart? So Shikshastaka 3 is very effective, and so is this verse of Raghunath Das Goswami. Here's the verse. We saw this very same verse yesterday. Please give all pride and surrender unto fully. And that gives the list. So we're going to be discussing this morning that list. The eligibility for receiving Atitaram Kuru. That's one's enthusiastic and intense endeavor to take full shelter of the devotional path. That's the effort from our side, and the expectation in receiving mercy. Not just like automatic, but calling for it, just like we heard Raghunath. He's living at Govardhan. He was given residence of Govardhan by Mahaprabhu, and he's appealing to Govardhan. Please give me residence near you. The appeal for mercy doesn't stop. It grows as Krishna consciousness grows. Effort grows and appeal for mercy grows. These two things. For that eligibility, there has to be some faith, just like the whole of the 9 processes of bhakti. It begins with faith. And step number 2 up to step number 9, it's different phases of faith. This is something that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes. One way of describing the 9 stages of bhakti is different stages of faith. I like that understanding. Faith and more and more and more faith and more faith. Matured faith. Prema is the penultimate. But faith, that means these two things, humility and mercy, are at a maximum. And that faith is nourished by attachment to genuine sadhus. And faith diminishes fruitive desires. That's the good news. Struggle, struggle, struggle. How do I get over this struggle? The formula is simple. It's right here, embedded in Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami's writings. And we get a big assist from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we ended with this slide yesterday, which says, when there's some faith awakened from hearing Krishna Katha, what is one to do? To go further. So that's what we're discussing this morning. Have attachment for the process of surrender unto those who are fully surrendered. Very sensible. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastre Koi, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. So here, this is Prabhupada in front of the deities in the Bury Place temple, now Radha London Ishvara. And so those who have fully surrendered become attached to the process of surrender unto those persons. That's your access to Radha Krishna attachment. And our various teachers. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur embellishes, as you see the image on the right side, not only our founder Acharya, but those from whom we receive nice teachings and instructions, and develop attachment for those persons by service, by hearing, by carrying out things that we've understood from them, trying to be consistent in carrying out those things. It's the same as Bhagavad Gita's message. We try to take shelter, we try to hear, we try to serve. Very simple. Process is very simple. Here's a nice photograph of Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles. Maybe someday you'll get to visit Los Angeles. The temple in Los Angeles has a balcony. In the backside is the balcony. So this is a photograph taken from the balcony, looking down upon the Vyasasan, which is on one side of the altar, and all the sannyasis and all the devotees offering their obeisances unto Srila Prabhupada, presumably after the Jaya Radha Madhava Kirtan, and they're offering their obeisances. Bhaktivinoda Thakur expands on this understanding in his poem or writing, his songs, Gitavali. Same point. Always remember all those Vaishnavas. No, I'm just going to say it. You want to repeat it? I'll say it. For time's saving sake, I'm going to, because it's going to be tight to finish in time. Always remember all those Vaishnavas who strictly follow the path of Srila Rupa Goswami and who are absorbed in bhajan. Again, if you actually want residence in the land of Vrndavan, this means the eternal Vrndavan and in association with Krishna, then you must remember all the Vaishnavas who are followers of Srila Rupa Goswami. After visiting you here in Bangalore, Krishna willing, I'll be making a visit to Vrndavan. And one of the places that we'll visit while in Vrndavan is Ter Kadamba. And those of you who have been to Ter Kadamba, you'll recognize these deities. This is the Krishna Balaram deities. that are within this grove of trees. It was much larger during Rupa Goswami's time, but these deities are still there. And if you look closely, above the altar there's a brass plaque. And inscribed in the brass plaque is a verse written by Raghunath Das Goswami, who is following his own teachings, and that is, Adadanas Tranandantayar Idam Yache Punak Punakritam Srimad Rupa Padam Boja Rajo Hum Syam Bave Bave. He wrote this in one of his books, Dana Kali Chintamani. It's a nice pastime, a tax pastime. Krishna was taxing the gopis from Govardhan Hill. You know the story? The brahmacharis know the story. Bhaguri Muni was the son of Garga Muni. Garga Muni was residing in Mathura, and his son Bhaguri Muni was residing in Vrndavan. So he, Bhaguri Muni, was engaged in a yajna by Vasudeva for the benefit of all the residents of Vrndavan, and it became a big festival that was planned to take place at Govindakund, today's Govindakund. If you know the geography of Govardhan Hill, it's on the eastern side from where you're looking. It's on the eastern side below the town of Govardhan. So the town of Govardhan is where this tax pastime took place, up on top of Govardhan Hill. And Rupa Goswami, this is a nice story. Rupa Goswami had given some of his writing to Raghunath Das Goswami to review. And when he read the passage from Rupa Goswami's writing about Krishna leaving Vrindavan and going to Mathura, he became physically disturbed. Physically, not meant, but his health went down because he was feeling the separation of the residents of Vrindavan, particularly the gopis, after Krishna's departure. So that message went back to Rupa Goswami. So he decided to do the following. I want to give a happy narration, the tax pastime. So he said, I want to do some work on this other book. Please give it back to me. Read this one. And Rupa Goswami's tax pastime was so joyful, Raghunath Das wrote one too. So his health became good again. And that's this Dana Kali Chintamani. And at the very beginning is this passage that translates, taking a blade of grass between my teeth, adadanas trinam dantayar, I repeatedly beg, idam yache punak punak, that birth after birth, Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja, may I attain the dust of Rupa Goswami's lotus feet. Rajoham Syam Bave Bave. And he meant it. He meant it so much that one of his other writings, Mukta Charitam, we know as the Pearl Pastime. Mukta Charitam, the Pearl Pastime. I'm not going to narrate the Pearl Pastime. It's a wonderful pastime. But he also has the same phrase. He was at the feet of Rupa Goswami from his heart. Always. So he's following his own teaching. He's giving the teaching that Lord Chaitanya gave to him through Swarup Damodar, and he's following it with his heart and his body and his mind. Next is this indication in his first verse of Manah Siksa, have exclusive one-pointed devotion to Radha Krishna's feet, as dear as life. And he did that. Now he did that in the manner that Swarup Damodar taught him, but the principal access to that was Rupa Goswami. and Rupa Goswami's teachings, etc. And some nice photographs of taking exclusive shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. And here's Krishna taking shelter of Radharani's lotus feet. You're smiling. It's a beautiful painting. This is a gift to me from Shivaram Maharaj. It's from one of his books. Here's a nice illustration of the Holy Dham, because one of the recommendations in this first verse is cultivating attachment to the places in Vraja. So this is a color illustration of the places in Vraja with names of the different places. I'm sure you recognize there's Govardhan Hill on the west side, running north and south. There's the river Jamuna. Over on the right side is Raval and the place where in Gokul and so forth, without going through the whole picture. A monument that's well known by everyone is the Madan Mohan Temple, where Sanatana Goswami made his residence. And the indication is, make that place your home. And if you can't, this is in Jiva Goswami's commentary from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where Rupa Goswami is describing sadhana bhakti. And the first verse in describing raga nuga bhakti, he indicates one should live in Vrndavan. Jiva Goswami indicates if you can't live in Vrndavan, in your heart, you should live in Vrndavan. And that's the internal path. It's not that everybody in Bangalore has to go pack up and go into Vrndavan, become overcrowded. But some people may want to do that. I know some people that have done that. But at least in the internal path is within the mind, within the heart, internally. It's an internal cultivation path. Reside in Vrndavan and become attached that that's my real home. Prabhupada taught us that too. Some of you know from reading Lilamrita, there was a period of time when there was nothing in Mayapur and Vrndavan. Prabhupada wanted his devotees from all around the world to come to what he called the Mayapur, or it became known at least, the Mayapur Vrndavan festival. Go to Mayapur for Gaur Purnima, and after Gaur Purnima, go to Vrndavan and give us place to stay. His indication was while you're there, this is your real home. And when the festival is over, you go back to your Prabhu Datta Desh, the place where you preach, and you expand and extend the message of Lord Chaitanya, come back again for purification. The gradual incremental process of making Vrndavan our home. Not just tourism, but making Vrndavan our home, starting with becoming attached to it within the heart. And that's our life. So life as followers of Raghunath Das Goswami and this internal path. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that this nourishing of attachment to those who body and mind are residents of Vrndavan, that's very pleasing to the Supreme Lord. So there's the eternal residents, the Krishna's associates, and there's other personalities who are followers of those eternal associates, like the Goswamis. Become attached to the Goswamis and you're in good shape, because they're attached to the eternal associates of Krishna. It's a fact. In fact, they're eternal associates of Krishna, but they're playing the role of those becoming attached to the eternal associates of Krishna. It's very mysterious and very wonderful. He also speaks about attachment to the Madhyama devotees, where this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his expression or explanation of Raghunath Goswami's writings, bringing it in a contemporary phase. There are persons from different backgrounds other than the eternal associates of Krishna or the residents in Vrndavan, and establish friendly relations with them. Not simply as in like a recruiting business, but with respect and nourishing ultimately nourishing their attachment to Krishna, because you're carrying attachment to Krishna. With that view in mind, and have attachment and respect for even the beginners in devotion, because the respect goes to the bhakti. Even beginners have some bhakti. It's weak, but Prabhupada's explanation, moving his hand like this. When you see a spark, fan the spark. That's preaching. And then he said, this was a morning walk in Vrndavan, an expert preacher, by fanning the spark, it turns into a big blaze. That's what Prabhupada did. Fanning sparks, become a big blaze. Expert preacher. But it's part of the life of those following the path of Raghunath Das Goswami, this internal or esoteric path of cultivating transcendental attachment for Radha and Krishna. He makes mention also of the Diksha mantras. There's a nice painting on the left side of Lord Brahma receiving mantra. Of the two mantras he received, the one in the bottom side is Saraswati. Now, question and answer. Who is that Saraswati that Brahma received his first of the Gayatri mantras from? And it wasn't the goddess Saraswati, because there wasn't anything. It was just him in darkness in all directions. Bhakti Siddhanta explains, it's the prototype or the spiritual Saraswati, not the goddess of learning Saraswati of this world, of the material creation. That's one source of mantra, and chanting that mantra, he then, as you see in the upper part of the painting, Lord Brahma then received this second Gayatri mantra as the sound of Krishna's flute. So these two mantras are very important for us to come to the stage of absorption in love for Radha and Krishna, as the eternal associates have of Radha and Krishna in Vrndavan. And of course, Mahamantra. And having attachment for taking shelter of the Mahamantra. And who's eligible? Anyone's eligible. Little children can be eligible. Even little children can be eligible. Somebody was showing me a little video. In fact, the devotee couple that you heard, the young man was singing the verse and his wife was reciting the narration, the translation. They have a son, and he's little like this guy. And the father is very good at mridanga and harmonium. They're very good musicians. And so the son was playing mridanga like his father. I mean, not the same, but imitating. And then another video, he's sitting in front of the harmonium, moving his fingers along the keyboard. He wasn't playing the harmonium, but he's imitating. In other words, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is for everyone. A little, fan the spark. Have attachment for taking shelter of the abode of Vrndavan. This is described, one of the places is described in Kavi Karnapur's Ananda Vrndavan Champu. He's describing in Ananda Vrndavan Champu, Nandagram, one of the descriptions. Look closely in the lower left corner of this painting. That's Krishna, and he's with the Gopas. The big palace is Nanda Maharaj's palace. And up above on the right, that's the gopis who are looking down upon Krishna. He was with his cowherd boyfriends, and they're perfectly attracted to him. The gopis are completely absorbed in Krishna, even remotely. What to speak of the cowherd boys and the cows and Krishna's activities. There's some prohibitions, what not to do. To take full shelter, you have to let go of false shelters. Don't become complacent. I'm on the path. It's all going to happen automatically. Haribol. Not quite like that. I mean, it is a Haribol, but it takes some letting go and along with the accepting. Circling back around to this message of always being humble. That's in the part that we discussed yesterday. But if you're going to take shelter, you have to give up pride. Just like the Sudama Brahman image here. Because Krishna was acting in Dwarka as a Kshatriya, and Sudama was a Brahmana, Krishna wanted to worship him. Sudama looks a little uncomfortable being worshipped by Krishna because he has such love for Krishna. But he didn't interfere with Krishna's intention. It's a very nice section of the conversation between the two of them. It's a really nice section from Bhagavatam to read. And it's not only within our tradition, it's within all traditions. So now we're ready for a little summary of verse 1. The process of worship presented in verse 1 is Ratim Apurvam Atitaram, or unprecedented great love, practiced nowhere else than Braja. And this is the last slide here. This is a summary of verse 1 in a different format. So there's intense and unprecedented attachment. Here's the list that he presents. Make an effort. Don't just depend on, I'm on the right path, so I'm going to be successful. And give up pride. Now, I've asked a lot of this material has been just gathered with Urmila Dasi's permission. More than permission, she gave me many of the slides that I'm showing you from her presentation on a book that she's written on this. And in the book that she's written, she has just transcriptions of Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj, his speaking on these verses, Shivaram Maharaj writing on these verses, her writing on these verses, Bhakti Vinod Thakur's commentary on these verses. And it's very rich and diverse. So it's available in India, and I don't have right now at this moment the URL, but this evening I'll be speaking on the next verse, and I'll provide you with the URL so you can make a screenshot or from the recording or write it down as I show the slide. I recommend, if you're interested in the subject, not just get it, put it on your shelf and leave it there, but if you're interested in the subject, it's a very nice instruction. My sense is the brahmacharis here are going to really like it, because my sense is the brahmacharis here are very serious about their sadhana, and I'm sure there's many householders also very serious about their sadhana and want to get the full benefit of Lord Chaitanya's gift. Now it's 9 o'clock. What time am I supposed to end? 9 o'clock. It's so, maybe this evening, I like having questions and answers, but I got a leash around my neck and I'm supposed to be doing many things. So I'm not going to take questions right now, but you can write them down and we'll see if there's time tonight. Srila Prabhupada ki, Raghunath Das Goswami ki, Gora Premanandi.